I would usually start the podcast by counting down, and it will be this. It's not long, but it will be this weird couple of seconds where I'm just counting, like I'm doing 3, 2, 1, and then starting the podcast, and then I would have to like. عارف لما تبقى اللي هو okay there's already good rapport and good energy but then I'd have to stop that وبعد كده اعمل اكننا لسه بنبدا نتكلم من الاول it would be kind of weird بس بعد كده I just decided اللي هو خلاص to me as long as ان احنا بنتكلم يعني بجد في بودكاست لو سمعتهم انت هتلاقيني اصلا اللي هو I press record and اللي هو it's just in the middle of a fucking random conversation واللي هو الاثنين بدأوا يتكلموا مع بعض and it's just weird فاهم بس I find you so interesting like there's so much about you that I find interesting especially كمان ان literally ما فيش ممثل جه على البودكاست ما حكاش عنك literally ف you're amazing at what you do ما شاء الله and I want to know the story behind that but I also want to know the story من الأول so whatever you feel comfortable with sharing I'd love to know.
Wow. Okay. Story من الأول.
when did all this يعني when did all this start يعني هل الكلام ده بدأ من وانت صغير did you always feel like you've had that kind of passion and by the way you don't have to like if you're uncomfortable with anything or if you don't feel like you want to talk about something that's completely fine فاهم في الأول في الآخر I just want to get to know you.
Well, I mean, it started, I guess, when I was a little kid. فعلا, my brother and I, يعني, we had a video like a camcorder, you know, like the old style, يعني camcorder.
Very old school.
بالضبط, يعني, وأخويا actually would take the lead, يعني, هو بقى set up the camera. He would write some scripts or like sketches.
Oh wow. ده وانت صغيرين.
واحنا صغيرين قوي يعني ده كان في أمريكا. وطبعا واحنا هنا في مصر يعني we used to بقى يعني كده هبل بقى يعني kids يعني for our parents. يعني بس I remember him like writing like very mock Shakespeare type of scripts, you know, and طبعا ما كنتش فاهم Shakespeare هو يقول لي يعني هتقول كده وتقول كده مش I don't understand even the word language of Shakespeare. I'm using words that actually mean like oh poor me but I'm saying it when I'm really happy. حاجات كده بقى يعني. يعني kids يعني messing around and I think once or twice we had even some friends that were like joining us in the sketches and it was just like some fun.
كل ده أمريكا.
Mainly في أمريكا. Okay. بس then fast forward many years كنا عايشين في أمريكا وبعدين رجعنا. كنت عايز اخش في مدرسه تقريبا كنت عايز اخش ألسن بس ما didn't go in فدخلت دار التربيه. I was upset that there's no theater or acting or film. ساعتها اخويا كان في AUC already going into بقى theater and acting. And then when I joined AUC I was double major computer science / theater major.
Okay.
Yeah like 1 year of computer science. At the advice of my computer teacher in school. I think I got computer science like it was for me it was pretty I don't want to say easy but it was like very logical like very sequential and بالنسبة لي it wasn't
computer science is like coding
programming
السكة دي كلها.
I
suck at terrible أنا وحش جدا في الحاجات دي.
لا I was taking it pretty like that in AS chemistry like I was actually advanced chemistry.
Oh wow okay.
Yeah and
مهندس
and then
يعني.
ايه مهندس لا تفكير يعني كده في حاجه كده and I remember doing like all the courses like physics math everything first year of AUC. بالنسبة لي it was really boring just like you know I'm sitting at a computer I didn't understand what I'm doing like why are we trying to like you know program a Christmas tree to light up on the screen. But you know fair enough it's an exercise like that people have to go through it just for me it wasn't resonating it wasn't fulfilling. I mean I'm using computers like everyone uses computers now so all programmers out there you know thank you بس فلقيت نفسي كده ايه يعني I'm not feeling gratified satisfied. In my first semester I took a theater course. It was just like suddenly like what you know like understanding about character dynamics of like you know social interactions just having fun we get to بنهبل بقى coming up with characters and telling stories.
Did you feel like it was nostalgic?
Oh you mean like back to my youth يعني
feel like اللي هو
yeah I guess a little bit but it wasn't such a conscious thing of like hey you know this is
أنا كنت بعمل كذا زمان بالظبط.
I finished the second semester برضو still as technically a computer science major and then I just dropped it and I changed and I switched to theater. You know in hindsight I wish looking back someone had given me like the push of like continue as a double major or just have something on the side. But ساعتها you know my parents were just like عيش حياتك يعني
Wow.
do whatever you really want to do.
Super supportive friends.
Supportive or just like completely relaxed like اللي هو
Very chill.
يعني هتخش experience بقى الحياة و you make it or you don't. So I switched and I became a theater major, and it was such a great like lab of human interaction and drama at AUC Saita. We were really lucky to have a lot of great professors that came into AUC at that time. Very inspiring. Some new productions started happening. My friends and I were like getting together even without the major productions at AUC and doing like 10-minute sketches, plays, اللي بيكتب اللي بيخرج. It was very like constantly active, learning a lot from doing.
وكل ده you're switching roles, like you're acting يعني في شوية, you're directing في شوية, you're
يعني في حاجات
ولا were you mainly like stationed في حتة معينة؟
لا mainly كنت حابب التمثيل ساعتها. في آخر كام سنة I was kind of getting away from it وحبيت بقى أجرب أكتب to write sketches, plays. I was going برضو through يعني you know like a young existential like where are we, you know?
I get that.
And there was one particular monologue by Shakespeare which is like the world is but a stage and all the men and women merely players. They have their entrances and exits, and I was like, oh my god, this is so like, you know,
This is so real. Very philosophical.
جدا يعني and it was kind of true because like, you know, I don't know if like you've ever done this, but you know, it was going through a period of time where a lot of experimentation of things, you know, and then suddenly like just this idea of like, what does it mean people have these entrances and exits? And I can't remember what it was like a few movies, some movie where جابوا بقى اللقطة البرسبكتيف من وجهة نظر الشخصية and as if they're closing their eyes and opening, and I'm like wait a minute, so like الكادر كل ده بيقفل فأنا عينيا كادر, you know.
Okay.
So I remember having this very distinct like realization of like wait a minute, it's like this is almost like a camera receiving
the information and you process it with the type of life that you live in,
right?
The lifestyle that you lead.
Yeah. So of the senses, I mean, our eyes are very dominant. You know, there was this realization of like, my eyes are like a camera, and like, you know, here's the recorder, and
such
like,
an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I mean, what are the five senses? You know, like
Taste,
sucking
smell,
in information.
Exactly.
Suddenly, it was just like, oh, okay, so men and women have these entrances and exits into my life. I see them coming in through a door, through مش عارف إيه, on the horizon. وقتها برضه I was really obsessed with video games and like what was it called, like RPG or like there's a technical term for like the world
first person player,
like first person, but specifically when like do you remember N64 like Mario open world games you can just like wander around
تعمل انت عايزه.
there's such a
زي جي تي جراند ثيفت اوتو
بالظبط
كده بالظبط.
It's like ايه ده, we can go anywhere, you know, like the developers didn't program a specific route.
I love that.
When I started seeing like the world appearing in like the video game world, like, and then in reality, برضو if you walk far enough in an open landscape, it's like the landscape just suddenly appears.
Exactly.
So then it was like this like really like crazy question in my head of, what is this world that's a stage and people have their entrances and exits? Is it really like, is it real or is it like, anyways.
What age are we talking about here?
20s, early 20s يعني
22, 23.
and then there were two specific برضه two حاجتين تانيين. كان في this is gonna sound cliche, but the film The Matrix, I don't know if you've seen it.
Of course.
Okay.
Keanu Reeves, classic.
For the Matrix movie, and at the same time I had a teacher what is it, Arabic literature in translation
في الجامعة.
and لما دخلنا بقى في Sufi poetry, كان بيكلمنا how there's a lot of controversial like Sufi poets talking about like this is a illusionary world and you know the real world is beyond this world and all of this. فالحاجتين كده دخلوا في بعض.
They meshed مع بعض. عشان كده عشان كده you mentioned the Matrix. عشان the Matrix كده بالظبط.
The Matrix.
This is a simulation.
This is all a simulation.
بالظبط.
And there's like a real world that you know that the heroes trying to get out of and they get him out.
The real world is terrible وساعات the Matrix glitches واللي هو لما تلاقي اتنين شبه بعض قوي.
بالظبط.
What the fuck is going on بالظبط.
You know, and what's crazy right now is actually there's a lot of like I think quantum physicists, they're talking that like this is like a simulation.
Really?
Yeah, like local reality doesn't somehow exist in the universe or something like that. I actually like was reading it a couple days ago.
بجد. I'd really appreciate if you can send me the article afterwards.
I mean, I can look it up right now. But it's like the new Nobel Prize winner was for this.
Oh, this is legit.
لا ده مش like it's not like pseudoscience يعني.
No pseudoscience. بس أنا اللي سمعتها إن the theories that I've heard about quantum physics is إن there are definitely an infinite amount of parallel universes to ours. يعني there's a universe where you come to the podcast wearing blue. There's another universe where you don't come to the podcast. There's another universe where you come to the podcast but wearing green. There's another universe where I'm tall. فاهم قصدي؟ يعني حاجات كده. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But when you read into it, it's like, okay. So every single decision that I've ever made, or that the people around me have ever made, has been mirrored, but in a completely different universe. Mm-hmm. Where it just blows my fucking mind how, because you get to actually choose the route that you take. بس ده معناه ان في يوسف تاني in another universe خيش او في يوسف تاني in another universe ما خيش وبقى انجح مني. فاهم قصدي؟ It's just weird. But I find that so interesting.
I find that really interesting, and there's like a movie, a few movies that did this.
There are a couple.
There was actually an action movie بتاع Jet Li's The One.
Jet Li, yeah, أنا فاكر Jet Li قوي.
زمان.
But Jet Li was like the more aggressive Jackie Chan, صح?
Yeah, he was like the
he was like Jackie Chan, like all the kung fu and all that shit, but without like the comedy. Jackie is very nice. He's such a good person. But that Jet Li أنا فاكر he was like very dominant. كان شبه Bruce Lee شوية. شوية. And then like في نفس الستايل نفس الكلام.
بالظبط.
بس لا, I'd love if you can send me the article.
The universe is not locally real, and the physics Nobel Prize winners proved it.
What? أظن إيه locally real?
Locally real? I don't know. Like, I think it means like this local reality, whatever local is to you, you know? I mean, I haven't really studied physics all that much, but I mean, when you think about, like, perspective and subjective experience, you know, and this relates to me like with acting, you know, because characters is subjective experience. Yeah. So like whatever locally real means, like I guess what's like locally here, I got to look into it a bit more, but that's what it feels like to me.
I feel like that is very, very interesting. So circling back, you felt like you بدأت تاخد existential crisis دي سيكا أو philosophical crisis دي سيكا after like you started to read into that, as well as watching The Matrix في اللي هي الفترة بتاعت اللي هو okay, people enter and exit my life, I don't know where I stand, واللي هو أنا عينيا كدر أنا بشوف إيه, طب الحاجات دي أنا ببروسس إزاي, كل ده at like early 20s?
Like early 20s, okay. Yeah. And I think it's because like, you know, as we grow up, yani from kids and then university, gradually your world, you're like expanding, like your community is expanding, your awareness of the world is also expanding. Part of me was trying to figure out how am I expanding with my knowledge of studying theater and acting, how am I taking this into the greater world, because the theater, I feel like if you're in that world, it can be very confined, you know.
What do you mean? Would you be able to expand on that?
Yeah, because like you have this like space that is very expansive and almost infinite. I mean, art, yani you could do anything you want, but at the same time, it's such like you're studying the human drama in a lab that is so confined, and to me it felt like, okay, so learning a lot about human drama and stories and characters, but it's like in this space. So how do we apply this to the greater world, and like how does it, you know, because خلاص يعني the world is expanding.
It's expanding.
That was part of like, I think I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but يعني
in retrospect, you see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanting to grow into community, into society, and how do I take what I know and becomes part of society and the community.
Mm-hmm. Very philosophical, super philosophical, and I feel like for someone that young, it's very, very impressive. It's very impressive when you're able to take. عشان يعني هقولك على حاجة. عادة الناس في السن ده بيبقى اللي هو إيه, خلاص أنا دخلت بيزنس أو دخلت هندسة, أنا بخلص هندسة بروح وأشوف شغل في أقرب حتة. Thank you very much. خلاص I have my paycheck. Things are set, and that's not a bad route at all. Like most people, I feel like, يعني if I go through that, I feel like I would be the same. But the way you took that approach to it, I find that very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a very grounded approach. أحس من وجهة نظري.
أنا ما حسيتش it was even like a conscious decision. It was just kind of like.
It was just على طول.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just out of interest to see, like, you know, I don't know, like, I mean, but يعني maybe I do have to give a lot of credit to the theater itself.
Absolutely.
Because it gives you this opportunity to be objective and subject, like to be out of it, you know, to step out of the human dynamics and interaction, because it's almost like a river that's just constantly flowing. And if you never take that opportunity to be able to step out of that river and look at, like, you know, what's going on. Will plays that we would read and scripts, it's almost looking at, you know, 90 pages or 120 pages of, here's a story that's been written, ideally written well.
Hopefully.
But we get to analyze and study, yani, what drives human behavior, what's the motivation, go into like their inner thoughts and psyche, emotions, feelings, physicality. It was a way to step out and then be able to step in, step out and step in.
Looking back in retrospect, do you feel like there was a point during your studies at AUC doing theater where you felt that قوي? Yani, was there a moment or a play or a scene or a script that you were reading and you got so deeply, intensely into it and you felt like, holy shit, like this feels different?
There's one, there's several. بس كانت في واحدة, it's called 6 Characters in Search of an Author.
Okay. Is it a play or?
It's a play. Okay. Yeah. It's an Italian play. And it's basically where في فرقة مسرح وهم في prova, they're like rehearsing, and then in the middle of the rehearsal they're just like interrupted, like the lights go crazy, you know, sound effects, blackout. But you hear the director and the actors like, what's going on, and everything okay, and then lights come up suddenly. Out of nowhere, these 6 characters just suddenly appear في المسرح.
Okay.
فجأة كده هم موجودين. انتوا مين وبتعملوا في طبعا الخضة اللي هو ايه ده. And then basically it's just 6 characters. They appeared and they're looking for someone to write their story.
Okay.
In the process, they start to tell this family. They're a family, and each one of them is telling the theater, the actors, will director, what happened. There's a drama in the family, and so 6
characters are a family.
The 6 characters are a family.
وفي دراما بينهم.
I was playing the father, and في مشكلة وحشة قوي يعني ما بينهم, يعني في لخبطة بقى. ويعني مش
تاني مفشوخة.
يعني اللي هو unintentional incest وحاجات كده بالظبط. يعني دراما بقى, دراما فشخ, and يعني بقى زعيق وكده. To go back to the point, it was this play which made me think, like, you know, these characters, and they're not really in their drama, but they're telling their story, and then sometimes they're acting it out, and then we had to analyze it on different layers عشان في فرقة المسرح. It's not really a production happening. This was one, يعني, of many.
Do you feel like this was one of the moments that made you feel like, oh, okay, this is different. Yeah, this is making me think of life in a completely different way.
Yeah, because it's like, that was one. There was another big production, Molière. It was like The Life of Molière. This was a really gratifying play for me.
Would you be able to, عشان I feel like I'm a monkey في الحاجات دي.
Yeah.
Would you be able to?
Who's Molière?
Oh yeah.
Molière is a French playwright from like the 17th century.
Okay.
1600s وكده, and he was a comedian, يعني he learned the style of acting called commedia dell'arte. He went against his parents wanting him to be إنه يمثل ويخرج والحاجات دي كلها. He suffered a lot طبعا في وقتها.
Okay.
He wanted to be a tragedy. He wanted to do tragedy, but he ended up being better at comedy.
Okay.
Very, very interesting life, and his plays are super funny if you can get beyond the classics, the classical language والحاجات دي, عشان it's يعني
في حاجات كتير قوي سطل وفي حاجات كتير قوي probably في
you have to يعني بس anyways ففي مسرحية كتبت على حياة موليير, and this was one of the professors that came from the US. His name is Paul Mitri. He inspired a lot of like my peers in AUC. And for doing the life of a guy like this and the way the play was written, برضو, it was like really, really like inspiring, and it took a lot out of me in that semester.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I love that for you. Okay.
I don't know. Going back to the point, it was this idea of stepping in and stepping out, just rehearsing a play. And I think plays are different than cinema. or TV camera acting in this way. You're working on a production or you're working on a role that eventually once خلاص الستارة بتفتح, you're working, it's you're alive. Yeah. It's a flow for 2 or so many hours, and you're living the life, and in between scenes you're creating the missing life, and you know, if time is jumping or time flashbacks and flash forwards, you're making it as a one connected piece. In cinema, I mean, it's very fun, it's gratifying, you can do great.
بس في كات
بالظبط ما عجبتنيش.
كات عيد تاني بالظبط.
فطبعا المسرح فيها ميزة اللي هو it's immediate, it's right, it's direct.
But it's so much more challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know, بس يعني من اللي انت بتحكيه I feel like it's so much more challenging.
Challenging probably in that it's alive. It's
yes.
in that moment.
You have to. طب هل في plays معينة there are moments where you can improvise? اللي هو because يعني if something wrong happens أو لو في تخيشة حتى مثلا on stage لو مثلا طلعت واحد من props مش موجود, would you be able to like have the opportunity to improvise ساعتها?
Yeah, of course. You have to. It happens all the time.
Really?
حد بينسى اللاين, ديكور بيقع أو props. يعني I was doing a play once where it covers مش فاكر كام سنة. I think like 20 years. I go from a teenager.
Oh wow.
It's like there's a lot of jump cuts. فمن الفصل الأولاني للتاني ما كان يعني في الأولاني التليفون يعني wasn't invented. في الفصل التاني خلاص بقى في تليفونات. فعلشان بنسهل على نفسنا ساعات في ال changing of set, التليفون ده اتحط جوه المكتب على الأرض. يعني في كده ديسك.
Okay.
فالتليفون للفصل التاني محطوط already on stage. فكان في يوم بس مش باين للجمهور. فone night يعني مش فاكر المشهد بالظبط, بس في خناقة, في شد, في tension. فالممثلة when she's like reacting فهي خبطت التليفون
يا نهار اسود.
فطار اون ستيج. فاللي هو يعني التليفون اون ستيج
وانتوا في السبعينات مثلا.
احنا السبعينات ايه
انتوا قبليها
يعني ماتش
اربعينات
مش فاكر السنه يعني سنه كام, بس anyways but we have to improvise اللي هو بس we can't say what is that. But some things you can improvise.
How did you handle it ساعتها?
I think we just kind of like stayed focused on the tension and the argument. وهي راحت شالت التليفون وحطيته تاني, and then we just continued.
So
we just went.
الحمد لله.
بس many examples بقى. It would be so much fun. We tell stories بقى اللي كان واحدة جوه مية والمية دي بتتغلي ما كانش مفروض تبقى مية مغلية وحاجات كده يعني. حاجات يعني different stories that we would always share يعني between friends. Yeah.
These were like هل الحاجات دي كانت واحدة من أول الحاجات اللي خلتك تبدأ مسرح؟ يعني was one of the very first plays that you've done on stage in front of an audience, ستارة بتفتح boom you're in it. هل كانت واحدة من أول اللقطات دي that made you feel like okay this is maybe where I belong and this is what I want to be doing long term?
I mean الإحساس ده طبعا إحساس حلو قوي.
طبعا.
especially لما تخلص العرض وبعدين الجمهور كده السقف يبقى كده في حماس وتحس ان هو wow they liked it. It's very gratifying. But I think for me what got me continuing was كان أول كورس أخدته. الكورس كان اسمه voice and movement. And in this course we learned techniques of improving the voice, improving body language. And one of the things I remember working with my professor was how to change characters, to change things in the body, and by changing rhythm and tempo and positioning and just kind of asking this very simple acting question, what if, ماذا لو. So ماذا لو أنا رتمي العادي بطيء. فلو رتمي العادي بطيء فجأة كده I let it go and suddenly other things start to change and then my thoughts might change and maybe how I sit change and I could start to feel like just energy.
Different energy. بالظبط.
And energy moving in the body. To me this was very gratifying because it hits on so many levels of self-development, and I didn't know it back then, but years later I realized, wow, we did a lot of work that I believe personally, I feel like would be of benefit as to be part of the education system, or just what I would wish for so many people to have, just like a vocabulary of how can you change things about maybe your rhythm, your tempo, even things to understand. You might be caught up in an emotion أو في situation أو في experience, وبالنسبة لك اللي هو how is it overtaking me and what can I do about it?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying what can I do about it, that acting can make you resolve the situation 100%, but at least to manage and handle it.
Yes.
I think, you know, it really was of great benefit in so many dramatic situations. Drama, يعني.
Yeah. أنت كنت تقول what was the course name?
Voice and movement.
Voice and movement. فحاسس إن voice and movement was one of those courses that actually made you feel like, no, okay, this is interesting. But how were you able to connect your self-development journey alongside theater? Yeah, do you feel like because you touched on that, and I feel like there's a lot to it. But do you feel like there in some sort of way هل theater فعلا خلاك شخص أحسن؟
يعني for sure.
It doesn't have to be يعني if it's not, it doesn't have to be. فاهم قصدي؟
لا طبعا it did يعني it depends. مش عايز اقول يعني انا هتكلم على my experience يعني
for sure.
خلاني شخص احسن يعني I would have to sit and imagine لو انا ما كنتش اخدت theater كنت هبقى عامل ازاي
بالظبط.
فدي حته صعبه شويه برضو ان انا اقعد اتخيل بس ممكن اقعد اتخيل لو if I never majored in theater I would have kept in computer science. عندي reference على فكره معلش I'm gonna go on a tangent.
go for it.
يعني انا فاكر في اول سنه كنت لسه computer science major and وانا باخد القرار ان انا عايز انقل ال sort of like stamp of change majors. كنت بسلم final paper to one of my computer science professors فبدور عليه في الديبارتمنت في الكمبيوتر ساينس ديبارتمنت فانا مش لاقيه وعمال بدور عليه. حد قال لي شوف في اللاب اللي مش عارف فين
بيسوحوك بقى ولا انت مش عارف تروح فين
بالظبط. يعني فحد قال لي روح لللاب اللي هو بتاع السينيورز. فرحت هناك لقيت المكان فاضي بس في واحد شخص قاعد عليه فطلع ده يعني حد من صحاب اخويا يعني هو سينيور بيتخرج. قاعد على جهاز واحد كل الكمبيوترات التانية بقى مقفولة هو قاعد بقى ايه وقدامه على الشاشة فيفا 98 او 99 مش فاكر حاجة قديمة قوي بقى تمام. فهو قاعد بقى قدام الشاشة باوز مش بيلعب وحاطط سماعات كبيرة قوي. I've told the story to quite a few people. حاطط سماعات بقى ايه وقاعد كده. فانا دخلت ببص حواليا مفيش حد تاني فبروح له فوقفت جنبه برضو مش مركز قوي يعني شويه في tunnel vision. فبخبط كده بقول له علي you know and he kind of turned very slowly وشال الهيدفونز heavy metal music بقى حس عارف السكريم بقى death metal. he's like hey man فبقول له علي hey what are you doing? he's like I'm taking a break. فبقول له This is you taking a break?
Jesus.
From what? راح عمل مش عارف ايه كده كوماند بلا 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 مش عارف ايه الشاشة دي راحت راح C++ بقى يعني
دي وكودينج بقى
programming coding يعني بقى terrible. Hundreds of pages. قعد يحكي لي انا بدور على error bug ما اعرفش كل ما برن البروجرام في حتة كده مش عارف الاقيها ايه. قعد بقى يكمل بقى وانا مش سامع اي technical terms.
انت كل ده في دماغك طبعا like I am not gonna be that.
I'm not gonna be that.
This is not me.
This is not me. Yeah يعني great. I really يعني
good luck Ali. amazing stuff بس
it's not me. And I made it a point. I'm like okay I'm done.
بالظبط كده فشخ. صح قوي.
What was your question? I think it was about self-development
yeah.
and related to theater. Yeah, I think whatever you take on as a person, yani, for me, having studied theater, it did definitely affect my role and my position in growing and as I'm more like expanding into the community and what's my role, what's my position, what are my skill sets. They're not exactly the best skill sets to have as soon as you graduate because it is really like go out, build your CV. You know, so in that environment, what's like building my CV? برضو كان عندي a bit of a drawback in يعني عربي بعرف أتكلم عربي بس it's not my first language ما بعرفش أفكر فيه وأربط concepts كتيرة قوي بسرعة as I do in English. وده بسبب ان احنا سافرنا كتير
أمريكا وبتاع. بالظبط.
فلقيت ان انا عندي challenge conflict اكبر ان انا بروح auditions بس بحاول امثل بقى بالعربي. ساعتها ما كان الكاستنجز ما كانش في كاستنج اللي هو اتفضل ادي مشهد احفظ ورينا مشهد
بجد. الكاستنج ما كانش ان في حاجه جاهزه.
لا ساعتها يعني رحت
اوف ذا توب
ارتجل مشهد او ادي بنت يلا فلرت معاها ومش عارف ايه حاجات كده يعني. ففي حاجات اللي هو تعدي بس في حاجات تانية
في حاجات ما ينفعش. بالظبط.
وبرضه AUC theater خد بالك يعني it's a very regiment discipline للمسرح اللي هو في حاجة كل حاجة في مكانها وليها طريقة. فكنت تايه شوية يعني المفروض أعمل إيه. I did some voiceover work, very light voiceover work, but it wasn't gratifying. I definitely had also like غير existential of like إحنا مين وبنعمل إيه. So my parents are mixed. My mom's Egyptian, my father's American,
okay.
which is usually the opposite way around. بس بقى كنت داخل بقى في this bicultural identity و am I Egyptian, am I American, ومفروض أعمل إيه أبقى كده أكتر ولا أبقى كده أكتر. So let me cut a long story short يعني في الحتة دي.
If you don't want to, if you don't,
it's not that I don't want to, it's just like and it's going into details يعني خلينا كده إيه نلخص للحاجات المهمة قوي. I realized اللي هو يعني why should I be one, why should I be the other, why should I say hate or despise or say I'm not this or I'm not that.
Yeah.
خلاص يعني I'm a mix of two cultures and I'm just gonna accept this, and it became like a filter. But I went through like metaphors of looking at this dual identity. At points I would feel like I'm at the bottom of a valley and it's like this mountain of this identity and this identity.
Okay.
And then at other times I'd feel like I'm on top of a mountain اللي هو the bottom of this mountain, this side is this one and this one. So I'm walking on top of it. And
do you ever feel like you could relate to one more than the other?
In different ways. Like, I mean, I went through periods of time of I would say أنا مش مصري. I can't stand it. There's just so much about it. مش قادر relate to.
Okay.
أنا أمريكاني. فرحت عشت في أمريكا. ورحت هناك وفي حاجات اللي هو ايوه كده النظام مش عارف ايه كل حاجه في مكانها وفي مفروض laws اللي هو في احترام بقى للناس. But then I realized I'm no offense to any culture, I'm gonna rectify. I guess
no, it's completely fine. You give offense, it's fine.
Where I realized في حاجات ناقصه برضو هناك.
طبعا.
وبقى الناس بقى يقعدوا يسالوني اللي هو ازاي ترجع ده انت معاك الباسبور ومش عارف ايه ليه مش عايش في امريكا. It's like the grass is always greener on the other side. You can't really see until you actually go and live. And maybe people connect. I know a lot of friends, they're living هم عايشين في أمريكا دلوقتي.
They just connected and they love it.
And they love it and it's for them, which is really great. أنا بالنسبة لي there is like a connection here. Really is kind of indescribable. I know so many friends, they travel, they're like fed up. خلاص هسافر أمريكا ألمانيا wherever they go and they come back. Some stay, some come back. And it's just a matter of like, what do you feel connected to? Unable to find words to describe, there is something in the land. I feel like there's something.
Really?
Yeah, there's just something here.
I find that very wholesome.
Wholesome?
يعني
انا مش بقول اللي هو
والله انا عارف. لا مش انا عايش انت بتقول شعر. انا عارف ان ده
لا وفي كليشيه اللي هو الستيريوتايب مصر
الدنيا وهتفضل الدنيا كده
ارض الحضاره والحاجات
ده بالظبط.
But however في حاجه I've traveled quite a bit and I've tried looking at different places اللي هو طب انا ممكن اعيش هنا طب ممكن اعيش هنا trying to connect with the people.
I feel like if anyone knows it will be you. عشان انت عايش
that's my experience
بس because you've been there. ناس كتير قوي بيقولوا اللي هو لا مصر مش الدنيا او there are always the extremes of اللي هو لا حد مثلا سافر اسبوع وقال لك انا مش عايز اعيش في مصر تاني انا خلاص هي دي حياتي. وبعد كده حد عمره ما سافر وبيقول لك لا انا عمري في حياتي ما عايز اعيش بره انا عايز اعيش في مصر. So I feel like you've had both. You've lived انت عشت بره وعشت هنا and you could say that. I feel like جايه منك it feels valid. It doesn't feel like it's a whim. It doesn't feel like اللي هو you're just emotionally charged فلو لا انا يا اما عايز اعيش في مصر يا اما عايز اعيش بره. فاهم قصدي؟
فاهم قصدك يعني عشان في ناس ممكن بيقعدوا يتكلموا وهم ما عندهمش experience فتمام انا عندي my experience and that's what I can talk about and I might be wrong. I mean maybe there's a revelation down the line, I figure something else out and I feel something different. However, it's I think everyone should be talking from their experience.
I agree.
ساعات في ناس بيحبوا اللي هو يعني طب
يعمم شوية.
يعمم بزيادة قوي because they haven't really gone and tried and actually lived or really lived where they are to try and see طب هو في ايه هنا. You know. However, I'm saying all this and at the same time I'm at a point where I'd like to really travel more.
Okay.
مش عشان ان انا I'm fed up from living here. بالعكس يعني there's a lot that I feel gratified that I'm doing here and I'm learning and I'm able to accomplish that I've never done before. But something is telling me there's still more knowledge and there's more to get.
So would you want to travel like for vacations or for holidays, or do you want to travel as in live abroad for a bit then come back, touch base هنا, like get grounded, تسافر تاني كده؟
لا غالبا not live abroad.
Not live abroad.
But I would be inclined to have a place that I travel. يعني I'm traveling different places and then I find another place that I do connect with, and that there can be a constant back and forth.
Like stay there for a prolonged period of time, then come back, then stay.
Something is telling me يعني out there there's more to now in the more expansive world. Knowledge, experience, and you know when you find a place that can give you that, you might want to go back and forth a few times.
I love that. So circling back, يعني آخر لحظة أنت قررت فيها إنه لا خلاص I'm doing theater. I'm not looking back. كان اللحظة بتاعت علي لما دخلت لقيت بيسمع
معلش علي أنا ما أعرفش أنت فين دلوقتي بس يعني شكرا.
فاللحظة دي felt like لا خلاص أنا this is not for me. I'm doing theater. وفاست فورورد بقى بعديها ايه 3 years
to what
to graduation
لا that was so that was the end of the first year يعني I graduated like my last semester was 2004.
okay وthroughout بقى الفترة دي you've done tons of plays خلاص انت دخلت نفسك you've immersed yourself بقى in that theater في المجال ده.
I did different things and projects and I kept training. I went to the States كذا مرة.
Okay.
فرحت أخذت workshops in London. I went to the States and I did some improv training and I did some acting and voiceover.
The goal behind all that was to become an actor, or was it to
just continue like the learning and the growth that I found for myself. So I mean بالنسبة لي أنا اللي هو طب it was through theater, it was through acting.
So there must be more.
There must be more. I need to continue and now I want to explore. ما لقيتش بقى الموضوع بالنسبة لي في مصر يعني سالك كاندستري. You know, just that's what it was. فرحت أمريكا and جربت. Went to auditions and it was a very strange thing. And I wasn't maybe in the best city. كنت في Boston.
Okay.
عشان my father lives in Boston. But I went to several auditions and every audition was always positive feedback. Wow, it's amazing. You know, where did you say you studied? I studied in Egypt. عملت مرة audition. الراجل كان اللي هو يعني وقف. He was so happy. بعدين قعد كده بعدين مسك ال theater resume بعدين بص كده بعدين قال لي wow ايه ده you studied at the American University in Cairo. I said yeah I studied at the American University in Cairo. He's like do you know the hold on. He said do you know Sammy? And I said Sammy? He's like yeah the costume designer. I said we don't have a costume designer named Sammy. I said we have Amm Sammy, the light technician.
No.
He's like no. He's a costume designer. And I said costume designer. Do you mean Hane? And he's like huh? And I'm like and there's this like, weird confusion like you know confusing thing. And then just out of nowhere he's like you know what never mind. And I said okay. And then he turned around and it was like just this very weird moment of him and the stage manager. And I'm like left alone like
what was the character like that you were auditioning for?
It was the narrator for a American play called Old Town.
Okay.
And so then anyways it didn't happen. I said so I guess I'll hear from you. I never heard from them.
Okay.
I went through several auditions like this. I don't know حظي ايه بالظبط بس برضو long story short almost every audition that I went to and I had positive feedback it just didn't turn out. I felt like there's a block. يعني it's almost like life. I mean, I feel from my experience, life can be like a very organic. There's a communication to life. You know, the very cliche way is like the universe is speaking to you and is trying to tell you.
It is.
Sure.
I feel like it is at the end of the day.
I don't know. I mean, is it?
Honestly, sometimes I do. يعني I feel that فشخ when I get a gut feeling. Like what the fuck is that? Genuinely. يعني when you feel يعني في أوقات معينة
It's the universe.
Literally, you could call it by the universe, you could call it God, you could call it Mother Earth, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that's up to you. في الآخر دي بتاعتك أنت. But sometimes I genuinely get these weird urges or this very بجد ممكن أبقى قاعد وفجأة أحس إن أنا I'm very very uncomfortable and I'm like no and I continue and I just push and then something really fucking uncomfortable happens. I'm like oh so my body was trying to tell me something and I just didn't listen. And you can feel it قوي with energy. يعني عارف لما تقعد مع حد and you're like انت مش سالك يعني لو عارف لو انت قعدت معايا with the moment that you step foot into like the room you're like this doesn't feel good. It usually isn't. As much as it sounds like pseudoscience واللي هو boohoo universe energy ما اعرفش ايه this shit is real and I feel like the gut feeling to me speaks like millions of words عشان it's something that I can't feel, it's something that I can't touch and I can't see, but I can really feel, and it is 99% of the time accurate.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about somebody entering a room and then you feel like their vibes, or if you sit close to them, well, it's because like there is an energy field to them and to everything.
The aura?
Yeah, aura, right? What is an aura?
I have no idea. Listen, I've heard it and it sounds good, so I was like...
You're like, the aura, right? It's that
right?
thing called the aura. Well, actually, I mean, my understanding of aura, like I used to use aura برضه يعني بس it kind of became more scientific. I actually took a course, I don't know if you've heard of biogeometry.
No.
Why is that? So I'm going to do a little bit of like, I guess promo or something. So this is like actually from biogeometry.
Definitely, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, and so biogeometry is actually a science, like it's a full-on science created by an Egyptian guy, Ibrahim Quraim.
Wow.
He's in Maadi. And
really?
Yeah. So it's basically, it's scientific, and it's like, I guess a good way to maybe summarize it, I've heard them use the term micro-vibrational physics. It maybe doesn't do it justice. Will forgive me if anybody's like listening and I'm not doing it complete justice. But it's basically like the science of like how everything has an energy field, right? You know, so you know my coffee thermos here, the phone, the mic, the table, and it has like it's not just what we simply call like physical. Yeah. Look at your body, our bodies, for example. Like, so there's a physical aspect, which is the flesh, the muscles, the bones, but then you have nerves, right? And so nerves are like what? Electrical wiring. And from any electrical wiring, you know, if you have electricity, there's usually an energy field around it, right? Electromagnetic frequency. And so depending on the current, how strong it is, it might get bigger. Okay. So okay, this is just blowing my fucking mind. Okay, yeah, you know, so that's, I mean, that's what your energy, when you're talking about energy, your energy field is like you have a source of energy that you put through your system, right? Okay. And some you're not aware of, which is like your vital organs and all that. And then some you are consciously or
for example.
You made that choice to do that. Then, you know, so when you're in this space, everything about like your shape, your القعدة, what we call body language, ونقرا الحاجات, your thoughts, the way you choose words, the way you formulate all of this, it's sending a wave of your energy into the space.
It's like sending a frequency.
Yeah. Okay. And the best way they explain it is this. So a boat is going through the water. What happens when the boat, it's splitting apart the water. فبنشوف الموج, right? So the waves. So that's like the frequency of the boat. If it goes faster, you know, it's going to be more violent. If it goes slower, if it goes very slow, maybe there won't be any, or there will be, but you know.
بس مش هتشوفهم بالظبط.
And so it's like a person enters the room, or you know, suddenly sometimes people will feel some are more sensitive than others, بس يعني هيحسوا حد بيبص عليهم من يعني في آخر الأوضة فيبص كده تلاقي حد فعلا you know منشن عليك. You can really feel it, and it goes through the space. So that's my understanding of not just simply aura, but like what's an aspect of
would you mind mentioning the name of the
biogeometry?
Yes, biogeometry with the person that
إبراهيم قريم.
Wow.
Yeah,
واو ده حاجه ده شرف رهيب ان هو مصري
جدا
والله العظيم شرف بجد.
It's international and so it's huge.
I am so proud of that.
And so many other cultures or countries and
ده بجد شرف يعني. بعد لما اخلص I will probably text him for the podcast.
yeah, absolutely man, I'm happy to share.
بجد like I really appreciate it. Wow.
Yeah,
because I'm really into energy but I was never ever able to pinpoint it. بس عارف when you feel something so you talk about it, I feel like it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
بس إن حد actually put in the work and was able to identify certain frequencies or certain waves or an energy form that goes through you, was able to like pinpoint it and name it and like give it like title it, study it. Holy shit, that's crazy. وإن هو مصري يا نهار أبيض.
يعني it's a whole science.
It's
a whole science.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
ولا يعني science مش
what was it called؟ كان في حاجة pseudoscience بالظبط. Science مش pseudoscience. Wow. Okay. And you feel like طبعا that resonates with you a million.
I mean there's so I mean one thing that I look for when I'm trying to gather more knowledge, and sometimes there's a lot of useless information يعني out in the world يعني, but I'm looking for things that will يكون knowledge to build it, and that you can apply in many aspects. You know, I really value this kind of knowledge or teachers and things because, you know, there's useful things for very simple, whatever, everyday to-day things. But I feel like if I can nurture my own self-development with systems of knowledge or fields of knowledge that can be applicable to many aspects of life, I value that so much more. And it's like, because then it stays with you. It's sort of like it sits, it's rooted. You don't always have to go back to too many notes.
Yes,
you do, obviously, to like for specific situations, you know, and things, but but the concepts within them, they're kind of principles and حاجات ثابتة كده يعني.
Wow. Okay, so circling back, I want to get to know the story. طبعا if you're comfortable, of course. I want to get to know the story of انت دلوقتي سافرت امريكا. احنا كنا اوكي خليني برضه let me recap. So امريكا مصر جامعة computer science الحمد لله فكست. Theater 3 years. سافرت امريكا, did a bunch of auditions. في حاجات كده اللي هو people will be like holy shit this guy's amazing, but nothing really landed. And then you go to this place of وكل ده طبعا you're going through the like اللي هو أنا مصري ولا أنا أمريكاني ولا so وكل ده بقى character development رهيب. Yeah. And then you get to the point of graduation ولا you get to the point إن أنت خلصت أمريكا وقررت إن أنا okay أنا هرجع مصر let me see where this goes.
At the time when كنت في أمريكا بعد ما اتخرجت I decided to come back and عشان بس حسيت يعني nothing's really happening, and I came back with the hope of many things happening, different things personally يعني in my life, some things didn't pan out, some things worked out يعني for the better. And then I made a decision, you know, I did some theater when I came back here with ACT, a really cool initiative by a professor, she used to be a professor in AUC, إللى Saad, and great, so passionate about keeping theater alive and doing theater for kids.
Amazing.
يعني بصراحة يعني when we worked on some plays together, it was كده keeping that spirit بالنسبة لي alive. قررت طب you know what, these people that I went and auditioned and they said you have no, basically they looked at my resume and they said طب انت AUC مش عارفين البرودكشنز دول مين يعني, kind of like what's the reference, how do we know
and you're good
you're good, you have this experience for sure. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take my education to the next level, and I'm gonna apply for a master's. A master's in acting.
كنت في مصر ساعتها.
كنت في مصر ساعتها.
Okay.
So I researched Europe, I researched the States. I found that you know I'm familiar with the States. I could go to England, but they're usually like 1-year programs. They're not يعني there's a very prestigious programs for sure يعني.
Absolutely.
But I made a decision to go to the States. برضه يعني keep connection to my roots or my identity. I went and auditioned for several programs, and Yeah. Okay.
if
No. I'll leave that. No need to mention. I don't know why my mind was just going there for a second.
That's completely fine.
So, anyways, yeah, I auditioned for several programs, and I got accepted into one.
Okay.
And it was a really like interesting outline structure of a program. It was between Harvard and the Moscow Art Theater.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds.
The Harvard.
The Harvard, however, يعني there's a little like يعني
في touch.
في footnote كده يعني للموضوع. It's because Harvard doesn't actually give graduate degrees in the arts.
Okay.
Which is like strange because it's like
of course,
the oldest school in the US.
أكبر بالضبط.
Yeah. And it's like, hey Harvard, you should think about that for a while. عشان هم عندهم حتة prestige اللي هو arts graduate degree. I don't know. I'm characterizing Harvard right now. I'm sorry. I really do value that what happened, the education. So it's like a certificate. You get a certificate from Harvard, but you get the master's from the Moscow Art Theater School there. So it was a joint program. They brought some professors from Moscow, and then we went for some months to Moscow. It was a 2-year program, which was ideal. So I went and I did that. And I did that with basically based on my American citizenship, taking a loan, which was a huge decision, which till now I'm still like figuring out and working out. It's not an easy, manageable situation. If I was in the States, I mean, I have a lot of my classmates, they're like looking into it because there's some actual like discrepancies or disputes regarding the program and the diploma. And when I've been Israeli, I'm kind of like حكي لك I'm coming to this point اللي هو أنا في قفلة كده حصلت في موضوع acting wise. بس يعني anyway, so I finished the program. End of the program, they take us on a tour. We went to New York. Very cool idea, I think. يعني, but it just the execution of it, like nothing really came of it. So they took us on a tour to New York, and we performed something for agents and managers.
Okay.
Yeah, so they invite agents and managers, and they're
amazing exposure.
Yeah, and if they are interested in any of the actors, like, hey, we want to meet with you and see if you want us to represent you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I had one manager in New York. We went to LA, New York and LA. So while we were in New York, one manager said, hey, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, great, I got a manager interested. Yeah, and I was I had my eye on New York في الأول. Theater, اكتر وكل الكلام ده. I met with him. متحمس قوي ايه اللي هيحصل بقى and he's like, hey, I really liked what you did, you're so good, I think you stood out from your whole group, you really have something special, unique, I'd love to work with you, and just let me know if you intend on coming to New York, give me a buzz, and I'm your guy.
Okay.
I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. Yeah, it's so cool.
This is it.
Yeah. And the guy didn't even know, like, we're so close as friends. I go back and I'm talking to my classmates. I'm like, hey, I met with this manager and he told me, like, you're the one, like, we're all good. But he's like, you stood out. So obviously, I feel like we connect and we click. And then like 3 of my classmates, like, what's his name? And I can't remember his name right now, but I said his name. Like, yeah, he told us the exact same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker.
Yeah. So just this like
ده مش سالك.
ده مش سالك خالص. ده اللي هو أي حاجة يعني. فاتقفلت. And I said, if it was only one person that was interested in me in New York, and أروح بقى أشوف LA النظام. أروح in LA. Did the same show.
Palm Tree City, so beautiful, sunny. I'd only been to LA when I was a kid, and so as an adult, and كنا بقى في روسيا وبوسطن برد فشخ. رحت LA طبعا بقى هوبا اقلع يا باشا.
لا ويعني برضو الناس بقى ايه يعني everyone's looking really nice, A lot of weird people.
طبعا.
A lot of
I feel like LA is like the land of weird people.
A land of what?
The land of weird people.
Yeah, I mean,
like everything originates from LA. Like all the weird shit just starts there and just it catches on to the rest of the world. I feel.
Could be. It could be. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So I've never been.
You've never been? Oh.
Man, I've never been to the States. One of the واحدة من الحاجات bucket list بالنسبة لي I want to go to the States and I really 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 want to go to LA. يعني أنا عايز أروح LA وبعد كده خدني بقى في الحتة اللي أنت عايزها. بجد مش فارقة معايا. فاهم؟
Do you like nature?
I love nature.
Go to LA and then go check out like Midwest. Like there's a lot of great nature in the US.
Really?
Yes, in the US. Okay. I think nature is
so weird because it's always portrayed as اللي هو just a desert.
A desert?
Oh, يعني I
Really?
see that a lot. ما أعرفش يعني. To me, when I think of يعني when I think of nature, I think of Europe. أو Asia مثلا, for example. No, I think of nature, الجبال الخضراء اللي ما اعرفش اعمل واللي هو الليكس اللي ما اعرفش اعمل. So I think of the states بالنسبه لي يعني عارف اللي هو the wild west.
The Wild West in Western movies.
بالظبط اللي هو that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm like desert.
Movies.
كده فاهم قصدي؟
Yeah.
بس LA was good.
LA was great. So LA was a nice change and a shift. There was something كده in the
city,
in the culture, in the city, in the vibe. يعني something was calling me to LA. I had no idea what it was at the time. I never thought myself going back to, Hollywood City. And anyways, so there was an agent. She came, two old women, and they're like, hey, we like to, we're not going to try to, convince you. If you do come, give us a call. But I said, okay, great. We go back to Boston. We're finishing up the year.
Program, yeah.
And then I was like thinking, where do I go? And I took the advice from my, professors there. And the majority of them were really pushing me to go to New York. Mm-hmm. I remember finishing the program, telling my classmates, guys, I'm going to New York. Because we're talking. And I remember saying, like, I'm going to New York. And I remember there was even, like, a girl that was like, حاجة كده, and she was, I think, she برضه يعني on the fence. I have no idea how this happened. I رجعت مصر for the summer. Reflection, just كده يعني sitting with myself and what's going on, where am I going to go? Something within me was just like, LA. And I didn't understand why, but it's like this, go to LA. Okay, I guess I'm going to Los Angeles. So I went to Boston, packed up all my things, took a car, road trip.
Holy shit. Road trip from Boston to LA?
So I figured LA, I need a car.
Yeah.
To really get around, you have to have a car. You've never been, but it's like the city, it's a huge city, but it's flat.
Okay.
في hills يعني, بس
Yeah.
يعني, I mean, like development, it's like this.
Okay.
New York, it's,
As I've never been to New York برضه, بس أنا سمعت اللي هو نيويورك المفروض إن هي كلها. Okay.
يعني there's different
like bikes. Bikes would work for New York.
With bikes, I haven't lived really in New York, but I imagine bikes can work in a lot of different cities.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, LA, to really get around and as an actor and just to really go for like audition بالظبط. يعني you need kind of need a car.
Okay.
So I figured, okay, what am I gonna do? I could go there and buy a car, but that would be a plane ticket and all of this. I'm gonna get a car. I've never done a road trip. Would love to see a bit more of the US, and just this idea of a road trip was always, and I did a road trip and it was great.
أخذتك وقت قد إيه؟
بص الواحد ممكن يعملها في عدد أيام. I did it in 13 days.
Oh,
11 days.
13 days on the road?
Yeah, I can't remember. It was 11 or 13.
Sleeping فين بقى؟ motels وبتاع؟
Motels, hotels, يعني كده, some friends, family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. وصلت LA. Wow, I'm telling you my life story, huh?
I mean, as long as you're comfortable. أقول لك على حاجة. I mean, we did an hour.
Did we? I don't know.
An hour. Yeah. That's like as long as you're, I'm very, very comfortable. بالعكس, then there's so much that I
Is
still.
this really what you want to hear though?
Yeah, I'm up for it. طبعا. I find you as a person interesting.
Okay.
يعني أنا بالنسبة لي getting to know you is a lot more important than getting to know مثلا the techniques that you use in your workshop.
مش عايز تعرف سر التمثيل؟
عايز أعرف سر التمثيل طبعا, بس بس أنا عارف إن أنت لما تيجي تقول لي سر التمثيل, I'd much rather know who you are. عشان كده سر التمثيل يعني سر التمثيل, بس كده لما نيجي نتكلم, لا, there are still so many like aspects of like acting and how انت ازاي بتقدر تطلع حاجه معينه من شخص معين on stage او انتوا بترهرسوا, that I still really want to get into. بس برضه في نفس الوقت I find you very interesting.
حلو. Okay, man.
فاهم؟
يعني if this is
as long as you're comfortable with.
I'm okay so far. يعني
I'm great.
Great. Do you want to keep going or you want to take a break?
لا يلا. What if do you want to take a break?
We can finish this part of my life story.
Yeah, and then take like a 5-minute break. Yeah, let's do it.
So let's see, Los Angeles. Los Angeles was so different, and when I went back after the tour with the school, it was kind of like okay, here's reality. You know, there's a fluffy, vibrant, golden image of LA and Hollywood if you're going and visiting and as a tourist. كل الكلام ده. You go as in like you're a resident, you're gonna live. Whoa.
It's different, huh?
So
من ناحية إيه؟
من ناحية إيه؟ من ناحية حاجات كتيرة قوي. A lot that I didn't expect to see. One of them is the weird. There's the weird.
Really? Some weird shit.
Weird shit. It's like things that I'm not surprised because it's like you hear about some of these things, مثلا in movies and you know just things.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when it's like, oh, it's not just fiction.
Oh, this is real. This is my neighbor.
These things are actually like you know going on.
That's so weird.
And then, but a few dynamic of how the industry is, and let me tell you. Oh my God! Yeah, why not? Okay, so I was, you know, rooming. I had we had flatmates. I had flatmates in the first few months before. I had flatmates. The first, so the good friend of my first flatmate was trying to be an actor for 25 years.
Jesus.
And I had another like a Ali moment.
Okay. Oh shit.
Yeah, and so he was just the most bitter, like guy, but at the same time, like, and he had a sense of humor about himself.
Okay.
25 years, that's never made it. Very long time.
Very long time, so.
And I remember him like making breakfast, and we're like chatting and talking, and he's like, "You want to be an actor here? Are you ready to take it up the butt?" Sorry.
La, that's good. Yeah.
It's all good?
Yeah, that we're good.
I'm telling you what he told me. I'm not saying that, you know, and I said, what? He's like...
That's some bitter shit.
He started laughing, and he just started telling me one story after another and talking about, like, the nature of the industry that
how you need to, like...
It's not how you need to. But it's like...
You need to fuck your way through being an actor?
I don't know why I'm trying to like balance, you know, this like to just be like, you know, PC. Because I don't want to discredit anybody's like adventures.
But I mean, you don't have to be PC if you don't want to.
Yeah,
like,
no,
this is a very explicit.
But you have to understand it's also like me, like, you know, hey,
I understand. There are people watching you.
But let me put it in a good way, right? So let's just put it regardless of that. I'm not trying to say it as this is the industry, right? But let's just talk about life. The way I equated it is like whether it's this industry or another industry, people get ahead in life in many different ways. And I actually had a very great like down-to-earth talk about this with a friend of my cousin, or actually a friend of my cousin, who was working in one of the like top agencies. She wasn't an agent herself, but she was working in one of the departments. I can't remember, I think admin or technical.
Okay.
And I told her the story. Like I met, you know, this friend of my flatmate, and he told me this, and he was mentioning names of like particular people in the industry, and I was like, you know them personally? And he said, yes, he does. Anyways, so I said, is this like? I told her like my hope is like shattered. Like I don't want to. I'm not that. This is not me, you know. And then she said, you know, let me put it this way, برضو to be like, because I like the way she put it. She said, that is a way people do get ahead, regardless of men, women. Like that's just like it is a way to get ahead, and others don't, and that could be to their detriment. It negatively affects them, where you know it's like people will tell them if you don't, then you don't make it. Yeah. And then she said other people work their asses off. Neither this way nor this way will guarantee success. So it's like if you try to take this easy. Yeah, easy. Yeah, you make yourself easy.
So much lube.
Yeah. So if you take that way, there's no guarantee you're gonna be like, you know,
100%.
a star.
So.
And if you take this way, there's no guarantee you're gonna be a star. So it was a matter of who are you?
Red or blue? So red pill or blue pill?
Masalan. You know? And it's like, I really appreciated the way, you know, she put it.
She put it amazingly.
Yeah. Because it's like there's a certain degree of luck, because maybe you do take this way and you just agree with some person who is going to connect you, and then suddenly, boom, you make it.
Exactly.
Or you connect this way with somebody who's going to help you and appreciate your hard work, and boom, you make it. Right? And then you might fall into the wrong person here, and then they just throw you كده, like on the side of the road, or you just never really find that right thing for you, working hard, and your passion will take you through no matter whether you succeed or not, type of a situation. So that was another Ali moment, because then I realized, you know what, I'm 31 at that point in time, and I was like, you know, man, if I was 22 and I heard that piece of like that kind of perspective of where I'm at, I could have gone for the grind. Like I could have really like stuck it out and worked hard and really kept going.
يلا بقى بالظبط تشمر وتنزل.
بالظبط. Maintain my integrity, and I know the fight, and I'm gonna بقى fight the good fight for myself. ويلا بينا. At 31, وعايز اقول لك بقى Los Angeles is يعني it's pretty pricey. وانا ما عنديش بقى savings قد كده. I had another conversation with another guy, and he's like, "Oh, you want to be an actor? Okay, how much you got in your savings?" And I said, "What?"
Why are they all so bitter?
It's bitter, but it's like the bitter reality of
what's
the industry.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a running joke in LA, I've heard it from several people, you know, in networking events, وبتاع, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm an actor. I'm like, oh, which restaurant?
Okay. بالضبط, yeah.
توجع.
And your work tables you work tables in the morning and then you
you
go
know,
to rehearsal.
I never did end up working in a restaurant there, but يعني I was working أي كلام jobs just to really like it's tough. It's a tough grind.
Through,
yeah. You know, it's like how much you have in your savings. It's like, well, how much do I need? And you know, and he gave me a figure, and he's like, that's if you want to live modestly. If you want to go to like the high-end events, then you need to get these clothes, you need to get with these photographers, headshots, you know, then you can double or triple that.
Jeez.
And I was like, wow.
Different life.
Yeah, and I heard the same thing from other people.
Okay.
But that's where like that kind of like realization of, my God, am I going to go through this grind? Like I'm not an old person at 31, but it's just, you know, there's a sense, you have a sense of integrity. حاجات كده, you start to have certain principles and boundaries of how you're going to live.
Absolutely.
I mean, how old are you?
I am 22.
22. All right. So, yani, maybe in 8 years you can tell me if that's happening.
Exactly.
But, so, even though there was like this big block, yani, and I could really feel it, I was very fortunate to meet a mentor or a teacher, yani, the next or another yani, teacher in my life and the path. And he had studied all kinds of martial arts, and he had a place that was open, like, you know, walking distance from where I was living.
Okay.
And so I ended up going and doing like morning classes.
What were you doing?
He at first it was like kung fu. I was saying kung fu qigong.
Okay.
And then the technical terms of what he wanted to call it started to change.
Okay.
And mainly because he's of Native American, roots, and so he mixed a lot of his philosophy and concepts from this with martial arts, with other things that he was, learning, and
that's amazing.
I can't even give you a fraction of probably what he's.
It sounds like a spiritual journey.
Yeah, I mean, he studied things like acupuncture, just to figure out like what would be the points of like strikes, and also for like healing but he never, I don't think, I think maybe he did for a while. God, I should ask him, but he didn't really take it up as his profession to actually treat people with acupuncture.
Okay.
But he studied it.
Wow.
And the meridians, and anyways, I learned a lot from him, and in a very short amount of time, and I'm talking about like spiritual, philosophical, but in a practical way. Okay. So it wasn't just like, hey, I'm so spiritual. I mean, there's some people that some people in the spiritual new agey thing, they lose themselves in it. And what I really liked about his approach to anything in life is like, you always maintain your center. You never go too far to the right. You never go too far to the left. You never go too far to this.
You're always centered.
Yeah, and it made so much sense with like balancing my identity, and like, am I this or am I that? I'm neither. I'm both. I'm a center. I can see it. I can be away from this one, but I'm also still part of it. So it was like this, like a system of just how to really grow, like find growth, and how to actually create transformations for yourself. So it was at this period of time I started like finding something's happening in my life where I'm learning different things, and I'm finding common terminologies, common concepts or things, but they're just said in different ways, or they're applied in different ways. And you know, you mentioned like your character development, and it was kind of like this. I remember my brother actually posting once on Facebook. It was like my favorite post he put, where because he's also an actor, and he wrote something like, paraphrasing, طبعا, the hardest character you'll ever play is your own life or your own journey, something like that. I can't remember what you wrote, but bro, it was something like along that lines. And it made sense, because then it was just like, wow, I'm this constant character in development, in transformation. And if I ever get to the point where I say, that's my character,
that's me,
then you've stopped. And one thing he really, like, a big aspect of his system is go for infinity. Go look for infinity. And it just made so much sense. Like, you know, it's a way to strive for better. It's a way to connect back to source or to God, because what down that road, you know, whether you reach infinity or not, but why not? If you aim for it, you're gonna really go for the best you can make for yourself and for others.
Absolutely.
So
that was a light bulb moment, huh?
Yeah, that was
it was like a oof.
So meeting him was like the gem of being in LA.
انت قضيت وقت قد ايه في LA تقريبا؟
2 years.
Okay.
That's it, 2 years.
Okay.
And then I had the plan of like رجعت مصر لمدة شهر, because I felt like I needed to connect to people. It's very hard to connect to people in Los Angeles. Yeah, I mean, you can meet people.
Of course. To
really have a human-to-human connection, it's not easy.
Is it because of like the flash and the money and the parties and the...
No, I think it's because I'm no expert in Los Angeles culture, because there's a myriad of cultural pockets.
Okay.
It's very diverse.
Okay.
So I would imagine, for example, in the Mexican culture there, I don't like saying Latinos, but I guess they say Latinos. You know, there is a sense of something similar كده, حاجة زي المصريين شوية.
المصريين في عشم.
You have a huge Korean برضو culture there. I think there's quite a bit of Japanese. There's a very wide mix.
Okay.
And so it's hard for me to talk about LA culture, but it's so flat and expansive that it's hard to meet people. You're not like constantly just like bumping into people.
مش زي معادي يعني.
معادي
كله
كله بقى بيخبط في بعض.
بالظبط.
And it's not like New York, where like New York you're just like on the street meeting people, exactly. And you'll meet people again because you're like taking the same trains or whatever. Could be also the industry. The industry has an effect. It's like, who are you going to meet? For people trying to make it, there's a constant question of like, are you worth my time? You know, so
it's such a tough industry.
It is.
It's such a tough
industry. Really is tough. It's like, do I become friends with this person? Because في حتة كده استغلالي كده اللي هو طب أقدر
ممكن يوصلني في حتة تانية.
يعني am I going to create a new friend, or am I going to create a network connection? So it was very tough to connect. فأنا رجعت مصر لمدة شهر. قررت إن أنا just be back with family, be back with friends. عملت ورشة تمثيل في استوديو عماد الدين.
اوكي. دي كانت أول مرة؟
دي كانت أول مرة أعمل ورشة.
اوكي.
And at the time في أمريكا في LA I had learned a technique that I was introduced to for my master's, and I decided to just really learn it really well. It connects with everything else that I've been learning. عملت ورشة 3 أسابيع.
What was the technique?
It's basically from a guy called Michael Chekhov.
Okay.
So he was considered the advanced student of Stanislavski, who's also considered like the grandpa, like of the revolutionary acting acting teacher or director. And so his technique was just all about like what I was talking to you about, like energy and how to use the body, very movement approached, using principles of nature.
Okay.
And it's not like these quick, with all due respect, but they're not like these quick fix techniques, which I think work for industry and camera.
Okay.
But again, like,
يعني what's an example of a quick fix?
What's an example of a quick fix? I mean, I sometimes tell people to use it, so I'm like not saying it's, but like, you know, one is called substitution. So if تعال نقول ان احنا في مشهد وانت اخويا، تمام، وانا مفروض يعني بحاول انصحك بحاجه، انت بتبقى يعني بتضرب بقى مخدرات ومضيع حياتك بقى، وينو انت رايح في داهيه بالظبط. فانا المفروض بقى ايه الاخ الكبير اللي هو يعني
الناصح اللي لا وما تعملش كده
بالظبط. بس احنا بقى مع بعض يعني انا مش حاسس يوسف ان انت ممثل شاطر فور اكزامبل، او انا مش عارف اكونكت، انا كممثل ما خدتش تدريب ازاي اكونكت مع الممثل اللي قصادي. you know، فانا بشتغل بس انا على نفسي وذاتس ات.
ماشي.
طب ازاي اكونكت مع شخص مش اخويا؟ فانا هبدلك، this is called substitution. احط مكان يوسف اخويا الحقيقي. فالكلام اللي هيطلع، فانا ممكن في البيت اقعد ارتجل. ادي بقى السر يا جماعه ليكم يعني. اوكي،
سر المهنه.
سر التمثيل. السر من اسرار المهنه. اللي هو ممكن في البيت اقعد بقى ايه اتكلم، او اكن بتكلم مع اخويا، قال يعني هو بقى مش عارف ايه، وبعدين احط الكلام اللي مكتوب على النص. فاللي بيطلع مني الاداء اللي هو ده واحد انا بحبه، ده اخويا بجد ومهتم، عايز اشوف يعني مصلحته، مش عايزه يعني، فاهم قصدي ايه؟ فذات substitution, it's a quick fix. But it's not really يعني أنا بالنسبة لي you're not connecting to you're not using a technique that connects to an essence and a spirit in the story.
طيب ممكن أسألك سؤال؟ do you consider it a quick fix عشان الايموشن والانرجي اللي طالع منك كلوك، مش طالع منك كأيا كان اسم الكاركتر اللي في المشهد، ولا because انت مطلعه لاخوك الحقيقي rather than مطلعه الكاركتر ده؟
انا افضل اي تكنيك هيساعدني ان انا انمي عضلة الخيال. ان انا عشان مع الخيال انا ببقى كرييتيف. ولو احنا هنعتبر التمثيل فن، يبقى انا بالنسبة لي let's use creative، حاجات فيها التكنيك يبقى مبدع. يعني في ابداع في التكنيك او المدرسة اللي انا هستخدمها. فالسبستيتوشن او التبديل ان انا بجيب حاجه من شخصيتي الحقيقيه فاللي هيطلع مني حاجه واقعيه، او هتصدقني عشان فعلا انا بتكلم اخويا، اكني بتكلم اخويا. ولكن انا طب ممكن طريقه كلام مع اخويا ما يبقاش انسب حاجه للشخصيه او للقصه. and it's kind of like this branch، فرع من المدرسة. ده على فكرة كل ده رأيي من خبرتي أنا، عشان بس نبقى فاهمين أن أنا مش بتكلم لكل الناس. ده فرع من تكنيك الذاكرة الانفعالية. It's a very popular old technique of emotional memory or affective recall. emotional recall. ان انا بقى ايه محتاج اعيط، typical بقى situation اللي هو يعني
طرف حاجه مش قادر اروح معيط
بالظبط، فانا افتكر اخر مره عيطت فده يخليني اعيط. بس when you use too much of yourself eventually you exhaust it, and the effect of it over time.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, because aren't you not an organic, you're part of nature.
صح.
And nature grows.
And you have emotional capacity.
And maturity, we assume. If you're a person who's stuck in the past, you're not growing. So if you're لو هتستخدم بقى أدوات حاجات دايما في الماضي، أو دايما الريفرنس هو أنت والماضي، كده مفيش creativity، مفيش إبداع، مفيش growth. مش بنكبر. فإحنا emotional memory أو emotional recall is using always things from the past. بس لو احنا بنتكلم على فن بالنسبة لي المفروض تبقى حاجتين: creativity و expression. If you're not being creative، طب انت كده ايه بتحاول تعمل copy paste.
صح.
طيب لو copy paste، طب انا كمشاهد اتفرج ليه؟ ما انت
انا اتفرجت على 100,000 حاجة شبه،
انا شفت كل الحاجات دي.
صح.
ممكن اتفرج لو copy paste، ممكن اتفرج عشان انت بتديني حتة من المجتمع انا ما شفتهاش قبل كده. تمام. وفعلا في obsession of يلا يا جماعة نعمل realism. لازم الموضوع يبقى حقيقي. سوري، مش حقيقي، واقعي. عشان برضو احاول استخدم اللفظ الصح.
ايه الفرق بين حقيقي وواقعي؟
حقيقي because I like الحقيقة او الصدق. يعني اللي طالع من الممثل، او احنا بنطلع حاجة بشكل صادق. واقعي يعني ده حصل. realism يعني I can say yes this happens in reality.
Okay. So would you be able to give an example عشان ابقى انا فاهم احسن؟
حلو قوي ماشي. فيلم ذا ماتريكس. اوكي بغض النظر ان ده لو الكوانتم فيزيست are going
تبقى
to
مصيبة
prove
سوداء
او هيوضح لنا حاجات كتير قوي ماشي. فده that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Great. بس the actors and the creators of a movie like this, when they say if this were real how would you behave? If this were real what would you do next?
Okay.
And if this happened in this supposed reality what would then happen next? And then there's always the creative بقى process of طب احنا عايزين يحصل ايه
بالظبط.
that's one thing. Realism would be مثلا اللي هو تعالى نحكي حكاية حد عنده مرض معرفش ايه وبيعاني ازاي
probable circumstances اللي هو بيمر بيها عشان عنده المرض ده.
وحتى جوه الرياليزم في حته طبعا كرييتيف في شويه imagination و it's an artistic يعني bit بس mainly بنحاول نقول لا غالبا ده مش هيحصل. لا غالبا ده مش الواقع.
طيب when you're watching something whether بقى it's a play or it's a movie or a TV show بتقدر تلقطها؟
يعني ايه بقى؟
بتقدر تلقط لما حد بي substitute؟
لا بص يعني
مش الدرجة دي.
لا when an actor is using whatever tools they use on the surface you can't say that's what they're doing or that's what they're using.
Okay.
However there's a lot that يعني مثلا أنا في المايكل تشيكوف technique one thing I like using مع ممثلين is something called qualities of movement. And so they basically لما بعد ما وري لهم يعني we train on this بيقولي بقى بعديها بكم يوم وهم بيتفرجوا على مسلسلات اللي هو ايه ده ايوه فعلا انا شفت ممثل فلان بيراديت ومش عارف مين بيفلو مش عارف ايه فبقول لهم تفتكروا هم بيستخدموا الراديشن والحاجات دي like ايه ده لا فبسألهم طب how do you think يعني ازاي احنا شايفينها ما اعرفش بقول لهم because ممكن هم بقى ايه committed قوي للي هم بيعملوه او للمشهد فاللي مطلوب منهم او في حاجه في اللحظه دي او في الكاركتر في المشهد في القصه ان هم يكونوا بالطريقه دي in this moment. So sometimes انت فاهم قصدي ايه ال end product we can apply so many different things. واحد ممكن يقول ده اكن مثلا لو انا كنت بتكلم مع مامتي
اوكي
او ده اكن ده زي الجاري الرخم اللي ما اعرفش ايه but هم يمكن هم مش بيستخدموا الادوات دي.
اوكي
while
okay so انت بتتكلم دلوقتي ان this is one of the techniques that you use to teach actors.
Probably one of the main ones.
One of the main ones because of its quality يعني because of what it makes. عشان من اللي انت بتقوله ان انا ممكن substitute ويطلع سين فاجر بس انا بيني وبين نفسي I wasn't really using like a very long term technique. I was using something اللي هو like a quick fix.
For you long term for you as an actor to develop.
اوكي
فاهم قصدي ايه؟ عشان ده رأيي يعني ان
عشان انا ببدأ النهارده for example مثلا 2022 بعمل مسلسل الفلاني بس 2033 هبقى بعمل مسلسل تاني بس انا كاكتر بدأ like I'm mature as I'm going.
You're growing up بالظبط and ويكون في عندك ادوات او طريقة هتكبر معاك. هتتطور معاك.
Okay. Your tools are a lot more. الأدوات اللي قادر تستخدمها.
They will grow with you.
Okay.
And you become يعني so much more versatile. Let's say for example I don't have an angry annoying neighbor.
Okay.
That I can substitute with. So who am I going to substitute with? ففجأة كده عندي references في حياتي مش نافعة.
صح.
التولز اللي أنا بحبها يعني in this approach اللي هو يعني حاجات موجودة they're like principles of nature and they really يعني بتزرعهم بيفضلوا بقى في جسمك بيفضلوا معاك. ودي من ضمن الحاجات اللي أنا كنت بتكلم فيها اللي هو يعني learn something or field of knowledge that's gonna just stay with you and grow and you can actually we can connect to other things.
Interesting. How do you manage to bring that out of an actor or an actress? يعني how do you manage to bring that kind of emotion out of someone?
I think it started with taking what I've learned and then sharing it.
Okay.
And then seeing how an actor, someone in front of me, they're applying it. And then they might be in a scene and something's not working in the scene. And I'll see something as simple as like they're lifting one heel off the ground. They're always acting with a heel slightly raised. This is a common thing actually with a lot of actors. I kid you not. They're not grounded.
Interesting.
Simply, they're trying to lift themselves up.
Okay.
And by trying to lift themselves up, they're trying to create something.
They're acting.
Yeah, they're acting. They're trying to make something happen. So it's like they're always up here. And so something that's very useful in ممثل and how just be grounded, just be there.
Okay.
So how is that reflected? It's usually I look at feet a lot.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds terrible. لا مش فتش ولا حاجة. لا مش فتش ولا حاجة.
Not sexually.
لا خالص.
More professionally.
يعني أصل دي بتبين حاجة كبيرة قوي.
صح. أنا عمري في حياتي يعني obviously عمري بركز في الحاجات دي بس واو. ومعناها إن they're not grounded.
They're not grounded. And I tell actors look at your body and as an instrument. يعني اللي بيعزف جيتار that's an instrument. فهو لازم يفهم الجيتار. لازم يفهم يعني حتى الأوتار ليها quality ليها حاجة لازم تتون وكل الحاجات دي. طب أنا عندي جسمي فأنا لازم أفهم جسمي أتون جسمي أسخن جسمي يعني warm up يعني.
Wow.
some things are easily solved by just adjusting the body. ساعات في المشهد اللي هو لا ما تعملش المشهد وانت قاعد لورا اطلع لقدام اوكي وفجأة لو انت قعدت كده حاجة تانية
صح.
ودي مش معناها بس body language اللي احنا بنقول عليها psychology لا ليها دعوة suddenly now I'm a bit more مش عايز engaged
probably
focused could be confrontation depending on the context it could be hey you know I'm really super excited
صح.
But at the same time, I could be just as engaged, invested, and I'm super relaxed.
بالظبط. اللي هو you go back, you lay back. So it حتى brings a different energy. يعني انت أول ما عملت كده دلوقتي I felt like oh okay this is new. فاهم قصدي؟ Huh.
So that's the approach and the technique that I like. I came back for 1 month.
Circling back. I came back to Egypt for 1 month.
Came back to Egypt for 1 month.
did the workshop ده.
I did الworkshop ده. يعني positive feedback all the way.
Felt satisfied.
امتى تاني felt very satisfied. السنتين اللي هو كل الحاجات عندي شبه بتموت يعني بتروح مني. I'm forgetting things.
Yeah.
فبترجع تاني and I feel like I have a role. فهناك حسيت إن في بيبان بتتقفل.
بس هنا في بيبان بتتفتح.
في حاجات بتتفتح.
Okay.
الدمان بقى الطلب اللي هو هترجع تاني امتى هتعمل ده تاني امتى. I also يعني quickly I was like wow يعني if this I started doing research مين بيعمل workshops ال opportunities للناس تتعلم if I came back every once in a while فرجعت with the idea in mind اللي هو أنا هحاول شوية فلوس and see when I can go back to learn more from my mentor and teacher
okay.
which till this day يعني I want to do more often بس لما رجعت لقيت فعلا في حاجات أكتر بتفتح which was very weird بالنسبة لناس كتير قوي اللي هو أنت رجعت من كاليفورنيا من لوس أنجلس إزاي وأنا برضه أنا مش فاهم إزاي بس yeah so that's how I've been here since.
Well, the workshops have been going since?
Yeah, since 2014.
Wow. What's the most difficult workshop that you have had to give? The most difficult technique or the most difficult part of a workshop? Most difficult in terms of اللي هو and most people find it very difficult because يعني I was actually talking to Miriam recently وكانت بتقول لي إن كان في I think there was this I think like there was this exercise where you had to really dig super deep to like connect with a certain emotion and it was so draining not draining يعني but it was very emotionally exhausting to be able to get to that. How are you able to provide a safe space for people to do that واثنين how are you able to guide people that most probably don't have a lot of emotional awareness يعني given ان احنا كلنا بني ادمين وكلنا بنمر بالدنيا كده to be able to experience حاجة زي كده.
I think the best way what I like to do is to provide
that's a long question أنا معلش
but I think it is a difficult thing because what makes it difficult إن كل واحد مختلف. ففي ناس هتنطلق قوي وتروح معاك، وفي ناس تانيين اسئله كتيره قوي، بيفكروا بزياده قوي، ممكن في self defense mechanisms مش عايزين يروحوا للحاجات دي deep emotional work. بس يعني the way what I like to do is to think of all the exercises and the warm-ups that I have. بفكر النهارده هنحاول نوصل للجزء ده من التكنيك او من الاكسرسايز، فعشان اقدر احضر لده هنعمل 1 2 3. 1 2 3 دلوقتي هم جاهزين physically mentally emotionally اللي هيحصل. ممكن يكون في يوم يعني هبل، وفعلا في تمرين بقول لهم نهبل but for the more intense stuff I need to make sure that there's a good focus, they're relaxed, they've gone through maybe even vocal warm-ups لو احنا هنعمل حاجات فيها vocal. فعلى حسب اليوم بحب اكون الستراكشر نوصل اللي احنا هنعمله. واللي يجي معايا واللي عنده البلوكس والحاجات دي بحاول اشرح ان ممكن ده يكون بلوك، ممكن يكون حاجه بيرسونال، ممكن تكون ان انت بس بتفكر، بحاول too much. it's creating a space. So بالنسبه لي المسرح من ايام الجامعه ولغايه دلوقتي الاستوديو ان انا بحاول اخلق مكان لناس كتير قوي. it's a blank canvas. انت تيجي لون، لطش، اغلط، قول اللي انت عمرك ما قلته، تحرك زي ما عمرك ما تحركت. it's just a way of here تعال نوقف الحياة، let's stop life. ادي انت ماشي كده stop، تعال هنا، يلا مش لازم تمشي على خط. انت بقى ايه wiggle around jump، ارقص، go in circles، نعمل بقى ايه اللي احنا عايزينه. خلصنا استوديو ارجع بقى للخط بتاعك زي ما انت ف it's basically pause، تعالى نعمل حاجة تانية. والحاجات التانية كل ما اقدر اشجع الواحد يجي معايا اكتر واكتر then it's an opportunity for transformation and growth. Yeah.
Wow.
بس
what is the most difficult emotion to usually
I don't know if it's a difficult emotion. Everyone
not difficult بس يعني
كل عايز يضحك صح. Everyone's ready to laugh, not everyone is ready to cry.
صح.
يعني if there is a difficult emotion maybe it's that. But some people يعني sadness and grief is right there.
Yeah.
And to feel positive maybe it's not there.
صح.
I'm not a therapist and I never say that my courses are meant
therapeutic,
are not targeted to be therapy,
but they
can be.
صح.
يعني
they are very therapeutic.
They can be.
Yeah.
My feeling about it all is if you're being creative and you're able to express what's going on, that for me is therapeutic. Is it gonna be therapeutic to what you have? Maybe not. يعني,
it's not prescribed. It's not
بالظبط. And I'm not prescribing, hey, do this because of this and do this. انت عندك OCD
لازم تعمل دي
يبقى لازم تعمل دي. لا يعني أنا مش بحاول I'm not medicating or with the exercises.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is trying to encourage everyone, just get out of your skin. We're doing character work, we're doing scene work, we're trying to understand this instrument that if you are taking acting seriously, how can you use it to create characters, to express more authentically.
Is there a technique that sometimes you'd rather use more if you feel like السين ده بيطلب حاجة فلانية؟
على حسب المشهد والكاركتر.
يعني عادة اللي احنا كنا بنتكلم فيه في الأول in your go-to technique would be the
Michael Chekhov.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael Chekhov.
Okay. What are other techniques that you feel like برضو would suit perfectly in most scenarios?
In most scenarios,
for example, يعني خلي بالك برضو like I'm also trying to like explore because I'm like a complete monkey في الحتة دي فاهم قصدك. I'm still trying to explore. فهل في techniques معينة بتستخدم في أوقات معينة؟
عمري ما فكرت فيها كده. يعني لو الواحد شاطر قوي وفاهم التكنيك بتاعه كويس قوي هيقدر يعمل تقريبا أي حاجة. اللي بيعجبني قوي في مايكل تشيكوف تكنيك really بيدي ال control over your tools and your body and يعني بتبقى فنان. you're an artist. جسمك بتبقى زي العجينة وانت ممكن
تبقى تتشكل براحتك خالص.
بالظبط.
Interesting.
بس يعني there's other schools I don't know a whole lot about. فيعني it wouldn't be fair for me to say
to express بالظبط.
they are you can do anything or they're limiting. But from what I know from the other things that I've really tried is I feel like sometimes I get stuck too much in the brain. Or it's too cerebral, too analytical. It's not enough physical character work. وعشان يعوضوا الحاجات دي بيسموها it's externalities.
Okay, what does that mean?
Externalities يعني اللي هو the physical.
Okay.
You know, واحد عنده بقى بيعرج. They call it it's an externality.
Okay.
But it seems like it's disconnected. It's like it's not incorporating everything like a character as a bigger, like a whole. There's no sense of a whole to the character, wholeness.
Yeah. Does it ever get draining?
Teaching?
Having to teach emotional connection. Or having to teach.
Yeah, sometimes maybe it's draining, but yeah, sometimes it can be draining, especially when if there's a person who gets stuck.
أنا فكرتك بحد معين and you're like,
if they get stuck in not taking that leap of faith. And the ironic thing is يعني when you meet certain people in your life, they have their entrances and exits, and we're talking about the universe talking to you. What is the universe? And like where do you end and where do you begin? So sometimes it's like that's some aspect of you.
Okay, well, Sani, would you be able to expand on that? عشان بس
يعني why does somebody upset you?
If
they didn't do anything out of intention to like harm you or يعني they're targeting you, but maybe even in that case. بس you know في حد كده اللي هو دايما كده ايه بضايقك. Why? Why should their presence or their energy
annoy me?
Annoy you.
صح.
Okay. Did you ever think about that?
يعني think about it now, I feel like it has so much more to do with me than it has to do with them.
بالضبط. And that's my opinion. يعني from experience in life. When يعني those people يعني after a few times I realized اللي هو okay, this is telling me something about myself, not necessarily who they are. You know, because then that turns into judgment. You know, I feel like it's so easy to just judge. And, you know, I talk to several friends and I tell them it's okay to judge. And it's kind of controversial, right?
I feel like it's okay to judge until it's not.
But what does that mean?
I don't know. But I understand what you mean. Like, I think it's very important to judge بينك وبين نفسك to be able to position certain people in certain places in your life. يعني لو مش عايز حد مثلا لو عايز تحط حد في الخانة دي عشان انت مش عايز تقرب الشخص عشان عارف ان الشخص ممكن ما يبقاش احسن حاجة ليك. بس at the same time it's very difficult to judge because I have no idea what you've been through. You have no idea what I've been through, and it would be very selfish of me to just أقول الشخص ده كذا. Just put a fucking label on it.
Yeah, so I agree with you there, Yani, where it's basically if you get to a point where you're making a judgment or a label on someone without having really deeply investigated your feelings of why you feel that way around them or what they're actually doing, I feel like that's like a bad form of judgment. But I mean, if we take that word and we use like a thesaurus and we start using other words, so is having an opinion wrong?
No.
You know, right. Is discriminating right from wrong? Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Is it wrong to have an opinion or a preference of what you feel is good in life or bad in life? So for me, these are all degrees of judgment. So it's kind of like
it's very philosophical.
Well, I mean, or controversial. I don't know. Some people are like, why do you want to judge? You know, like people will say like avoid judgment. I don't like judgment. Judging is bad.
I mean, هقولك على حاجة. I'm recovering from being a terrible person. خلاص, like I was a fucking atrocious person, and I used to have and carry an insane amount of judgment. And up until I've experienced many of the experiences that I was judging, that I now understand and I'm مش فاهم أي حاجة. Like if it's one thing that I know for a fact is that I know nothing. There's so much that I still need to learn and it grounds me, it humbles me. بس زي بالظبط ما انت قلت I feel like throughout that time كان لسه في أوقات معينة where I felt like لا, this doesn't sit right with me. It might sit amazingly with you and that's completely fine. But me being stripped of the power to, how do I say this? me not being allowed to place certain rituals or certain boundaries around myself and the beliefs that I have, I think is wrong. I don't think I should, uphold these boundaries on you. انت من انت عايز في الاخر. بس انا مثلا بالنسبه لي اي كلام اللي انا هقوله ده انا مثلا بالنسبه لي انت شخص وحش لو ما بتبتسمش في وش اللي قدامك، في وش حد غريب. تمام قصدي؟ انا مش شايفك شخص وحش عشان انت بتبتسمش في وشي، بس انا هشوف نفسي شخص وحش لو ما بتبتسمش في وشك.
انت كده حطيت basically a certain kind of a definition to how someone or you should be.
Like to me بالظبط. فاهم قصدي؟ Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you not?
I mean, it basically, are we applying this to, you mean to like everything, how someone should be in certain situations?
I just feel like اللي هو عشان when you were talking احنا كنا بنتكلم in what is it to have an opinion and whether or not having an opinion دي حاجة صح. طب what is it to have an opinion about what is right and what is wrong, and you just get into this weird zone of طب انا كده عمري في حياتي ما هقول حاجه، او عمري في حياتي ما هيبقى عندي opinion عشان any opinion would be taken automatically as ايه ده انت judgmental مع 60 كلب ما اعرفش ايه. بس that's not the case because I should have preferences towards حاجات معينه. So I feel like as long as those preferences apply to me and only me, then I'm good.
Well, you and only you, but also I do also believe I don't like, and it's not my preference, to impose my preferences and my experiences and what I've determined to be right, wrong, good, bad, that other people should have the exact same conclusion or outcome according to, because everyone's having their own experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you mean, right? Like the imposing.
Yes, it's exactly what I mean.
But at the same time, it's nice, and I think it's important to be able to share what you firmly believe in, but in a way هي برضو هي تركية كده ازاي بقى نحط الكلام عشان مع الشخص الغلط
تتسكع على طول
بالظبط. فاللي هو يعني مش قصدي، وتحاول تشرح نفسك وتقول لا
تخش بقى في حتة وحشة فشخ.
فالواحد محتاج اللي هو it's برضو a skill. How do you hold your ground? How do you stand firm with your beliefs and what you've experienced and دي حقيقة بالنسبة لك. This is يعني you've come to a conclusion. This is what I believe in. What's right, what's wrong, good, bad. والحاجات دي ممكن تتغير عشان في وقت ما في حياتنا احنا بنقول انا عرفت ده، بس along the line في experience اللي هو ايه ده لا مش عارف اي حاجة.
صح.
in terms of imposing on other people, I don't agree, but sharing what you've come to know and what you believe in is important.
Of course.
Because then when it connects and it clicks with somebody else and their experiences, then sometimes you start gradually finding, oh, okay, so my experience is also connecting with other people's true experiences. Then we start to create like a human network of what we value and what we uphold and what we want to see, and as human beings. So we can become more than just where we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very. I don't want to say existential because existential عادة بتتقال بحاجة وحشة. It's very philosophical. I love that. Well, I feel like I don't know why, but we keep circling back to in like people coming in, people exiting, into coming in, into exiting, and what are you and how are you developing عامة as a person في حياتك. I love that. تعرف إحنا we did an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay.
That's crazy. اللي
أنت عادة بتروح
whatever you're comfortable with. يعني أنا this has been such a wholesome conversation.
This is great. I'm enjoying it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that. طب هقولك على I feel like we can do 10 more minutes.
Sure.
If you're up for it.
I'm up for whatever you want. يعني
أنا براحتي خالص. I feel like 10 more minutes. Well, I want to get to know بقى يعني if I don't want to call it advice and I want to like just cliche it up. But what would be like a piece of advice or a piece of sentiment that you would give to a person that wants to عشان ما شاء الله I feel like there's so much to you ففكك from you just being a really 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 good acting coach, so as well as a person. What were some of the things that made you develop يعني in a beautiful way as a person, and what are some of the ways that you would advise up and coming actors if they do want to pursue acting as a, whether as a career or حتى as a hobby?
Let's start with the more tangible one, which is acting and actors. It's hard to give good advice. يعني أنا أنصح حد اللي هو أعمل كده عشان تنجح.
ده صح بالظبط.
بس يعني إن الواحد اللي عايز ينجح أو يشتغل في المجال ده يعني في كذا حاجة. أولاً training. يعني فتاخد ورش أو لو هتخش معهد مسرح والحاجات دي كلها. فالتريننج دي حته مهمه قوي عشان لو عايز تنجح over the long term. لازم كده الواحد يبقى بيشتغل على نفسه, بيشتغل على ادواته, ان كان بقى صوت, حركه, كاركتر, ازاي يحلل الشخصيه, يقرا الورق, كل الكلام ده. فالتريننج is very very important. حاجه تانية connections, ان انت تبتدي تعرف الناس في الاندستري,
تبقى في السين, تبقى
في السين. بس يعني برضو تبقى في السين ساعات بتبقى بالنسبه للناس اللي هم بيحتاجوا يعملوا حاجه هم مش عايزين يعملوها. وبرضو دي حاجه مش سهله قوي لاي حد, ان هو طب اوكي يعني انا عايز اقابل مثلا مروان حامد, يعني great director, how do you meet him? مش بالسهوله اللي هو اوكي انا هشتغل على الكونكشنز.
طب هي فين؟ بالظبط.
يعني ايه, اسال البواب يعني اروح مين, في اب للموضوع ده ولا ايه؟
بالظبط.
ف it's not easy. برضو التريننج is not easy. انت عشان تشتغل على نفسك انت كده بتغير من جسمك, من افكارك والحاجات دي, فكل حاجه صعبه. في جزء تاني اللي هو لازم تبتدي تبص على نفسك as an artist, as a business. مع ان دي حاجه يعني فيها conflict رهيب جدا. ما هو يعني we have to be realistic. يعني these days ما فيش بروديوسر, يعني انتاج افلام او مسلسلات حاجه مكلفه جدا
طبعا.
فجزء من الموضوع هم عايزين يضمنوا ان في
هيبقى في ابيل والناس هيتفرجوا, هيبقى
بالظبط ان الموضوع ينجح. فهي ميزه وعيب ان دلوقتي بيبصوا على followers. مثلا انت you a prominent figure, انت you have a following, انت مين متابعك, مين هيجي يتفرج عليك. عشان توصل للمرحلة دي you obviously have to work on this. You have to work on yourself kind of in a sense like a business. طيب what I really don't like this and I don't approve of it, but it's a language that makes sense to people.
Okay.
لو أنا product يبقى أنا إيه? But again, this is not a great way. It's not artistic. However, it's not it can be valuable to think of how these people are thinking about you. علشان لو عايز تكتر امكانياتك او الفرص ان انت تطلع وتنجح, فكر هما بيفكروا ازاي, مش هم عايزين منك ايه. That's changing you.
Okay.
يعني فاهم. I really firmly believe انت فنان, انت ممثل, اعرف نفسك كويس, تعرف نفسك كويس عشان تبقى عارف هم شايفينك ازاي. Then you think about okay, طب الناس اللي زيي, هل في حد زيي؟ برضو very big question, اللي هو أنا مميز ولا لأ. وأكيد كل واحد مميز, بس غالبا أنا هتحط في دور إيه, الأخ الكبير, الضايع, ولا ما أعرفش. يعني فاهم قصدي إيه؟ You start to think يعني it's an industry.
صح.
وبرضو ميزة وعيب إن because it's turned into a very business oriented industry, sometimes business decisions are made over artistic decisions. إن ممكن يكون في حد موهوب اكتر من حد تاني, بس بيختاروا حد عشان عنده followers. صح. بس at the same time
بيختاروا حد شبه الشخصية for example او
بالظبط. بس I think I believe, انا طبعا مش دارس الحتة business side of it all, بس عشان في priority the business side of it all, بقينا نعمل حاجات بإنتاج أعلى وإمكانيات أكتر because يعني في this in mind as the sellability of something. فاللي هو let's impress, let's do يعني. فكل حاجة ليها ميزة وعيب. So training, علاقات, business, and then live your life. يعني لو واحد عايز يبقى ممثل لازم يبقى عندك حياة, عيش حياتك. ما ينفعش ده رأيي, وممكن يبقى في 1-2% بينجحوا عكس الكلام ده. بس أنا رأيي اللي هو لو أنت مش مستمتع بالحياة, لو مش لاقي هوبيز, لو مش بتشتغل على نفسك, بتتعلم حاجة جديدة, بتخرج وبتقابل ناس جديدة في أماكن جديدة وتبتدي يعني لازم تحك في الحياة. لو مش عايش حياتك يبقى انت ازاي هتعيش حياة كاركترز تانيين؟
صح
يعني
صح.
شوية كده تشالنج للممثلين اللي هو what gives you the right to portray and create other characters لو انت مش عارف
as a character. بالظبط.
اخر حاجة حظ. انت وحظك بقى.
انت وحظك. صباحك فل. So that in terms of like if you want to be an actor.
Yeah, that's my advice to want to be an actor.
If you give just your 2 cents on if you
advice.
are a person just a person who wants to self-develop himself, a person that wants to be better.
Think of what's so I'm gonna give you a bit of a system from my mentor. His name's Kelvin DeWolf. He says always strive for the good and good, the win-win. So this is also another term used in improv acting, the win-win.
Okay.
But yani in his terms, it's like what's good for you and what's good for the other.
Okay.
So as a human being, for us to become even better, always strive for what's better for everyone around. Yeah, yani if you have an opportunity to make choices about what you're going to do or who you're going to be and all of this, consider what's good for you. But if you can become aware of if what's good for you means bad for someone else, try to strive for the solution that is good for you, good for everyone. So you know, I don't know if that's because I don't want to give an advice of like,
I love that.
Hey, you know, go learn
work
this,
hard, be patient. I love that.
Yeah.
Very, 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 such a grounding answer.
Yeah.
I love it. Damn, an hour and 50 minutes. It's a great. I really appreciate you for coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it has been such a wholesome conversation. And it's a very intellectual conversation, I feel. وحاسس ان انا اتعلمت حاجات كتيرة قوي منك. Genuinely.
Thank you, man. أنا برضو انبسطت قوي and it's great. You made it flow really easy.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're still listening, and at Instagram at
for my studio, Luke Lehner Studio.
Okay, well we خليها الاستوديو بس مش عايزين personal account.
Personal أنا أصلا يعني مش active خالص. I'm really not good. يعني أنا بعمل stories. أنا بدور على stories that are.
بس الاستوديو ما شاء الله is doing amazing. ما شاء الله. لا thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're still listening, yeah, peace.